Daniela Arbex uses her investigative skills to expose corruption and social injustice in Brazil. She stared down death threats to help the powerless, even taking on the country's most feared and dangerous politicians. One of them was a councilman in the city of Juiz de Fora, in power for 20 years and known for his brutality. After a tip from a taxi driver in 2008, Arbex launched an investigation into his shady business holdings. She discovered that he owned a construction company that was making millions on deals with the city. She wrote a series of articles that fueled public outrage and forced him to resign.
Once it became public, I felt safer because it wasn't just me that knew of his deceit. Now it was a whole city that knew and called for retribution. I felt protected by the power of the news.
Arbex took concerns about deaths at a psychiatric hospital to the facility's front door. She camped out next to the hospital to gather evidence. She found patients left asleep on the floor, tied up, naked, and hungry. Her coverage prompted the state government to hold psychiatric hospitals to higher standards, a huge victory for those with mental illness in Brazil. And Arbex's reporting kept the doors open at a large charity hospital slated for closure. Looking into a laundry list of problems at the facility, she discovered a nearly $10 million corruption scheme. A string of resignations followed her series of stories that exposed hospital mismanagement. Instead of closing as planned, the hospital adopted a new auditing system for accountability. It now treats 300,000 patients a year.
This guaranteed that people could continue to be treated with dignity. Even though this was one of the hardest investigations, I'm very proud of it.
Arbex not only solved a decades-old mystery, but rewrote Brazilian history when she found the grave of Milton Soares de Castro, a political activist who vanished in 1968 during the military dictatorship. She figured out that Tomb 312 held his remains and uncovered documents proving the army had assassinated him.
I remember the caretaker told me I couldn't leave with those documents, and it was almost time to close the cemetery. And I said, then I am going to sleep here tonight because I won't leave without those documents.
The government was forced to acknowledge Soares de Castro did not commit suicide, and it agreed to pay reparations. Arbex helped this mother prove that her son Lucas, who died in jail, was mistreated. Officials claimed a drug overdose killed the young man, locked up in an adult facility. But Arbex kept pressing until she got autopsy results showing Lucas died when he didn't receive help during an asthma attack. She also challenged the case against a father imprisoned for raping his one-year-old daughter. Arbex determined that the father had been tortured into confessing. Then she turned the alleged facts of the case on their head. She tracked down the daughter's doctor and learned the young girl had never been abused, but suffered from a tumor that caused her to bleed. The day after Arbex's paper printed the story, the father was freed. A year later, cancer took the life of his little girl. Arbex got her start writing for the school newspaper. A university professor told her she'd never land a job as a journalist. It took her just a few weeks to convince Tribuna de Minas to give her a byline, and her stories soon began making waves. Early on, she took on Brazil's Ministry of Health when she learned that female rape victims were not entitled to receive preventative medicine for AIDS. After a series of articles, the government started giving rape victims potentially life-saving drugs. Arbex surrendered her youth for a report on aging. Using makeup and clothing, she added years to her appearance. She experienced firsthand the daily struggles that seniors face and made the front page.
I always say the best story is the one I haven't told yet. There's still so much to be done, so much to discover, so many people in need of help.
Throughout her 15-year career at Tribuna de Minas, Daniela Arbex has demonstrated fearlessness and tenacity in a relentless quest for the truth. Her ability to dig deeper and her commitment to get the story right has helped her community and changed her country for the better.